This video is for new customers as well as existing customers who just need to know what the bare minimum you need to do to install and get ggLeap up and running for your customers. We'll look at both installing the client as well as the web administrator, and just keep in mind that these things do not have to go in any kind of order. So what we're going to do in this video is we're going to create an offer within the inventory system. We're going to create a user. We're going to add that offer that we created onto that user's account. We'll take a look at adding a console, logging the user into a console. We'll take a look at a PC before the ggLeap client gets installed, and we'll look at a few different game setup scenarios. And at the end, we'll tie it all together. So the first thing I want to do is I want to go to the ggLeap web admin. So once you set up your account with ggLeap, you'll be sent your credentials through email, and there'll be two logins. There's the pop-up login, and then there is your specific server login. So what I've tried to do here is I've tried to clear out an existing server just so we can start from scratch. This is going to be your dashboard where all of your PCs are listed. You can also go to the graphical view, and once you install the client, then those PCs will start showing up in this list. So it's not going to do anything right now, but it will as we go through the process. So what I'd like to do first is actually go through and create an offer, create a user, and then add that offer in point of sale. So in your settings, you're going to see a lot of different stuff here. We're not going to worry about it because this is just the bare minimum. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to shop settings, I'm going to go to inventory management, I'm going to go to offers, and I'm going to add an item. So this is just a basic 1 hour offer. So this offer will be 1 hour on an account. It carries over until that time is used up. There are a lot of different time scenarios, but we'll talk about those in subsequent videos. So we'll give this 1 hour of game time, and we'll call it $5 US dollars. I will make this available for client orders, which means it will be available for the client shop. I will make it available for quick sale, which we'll talk about in the point of sale, which just basically lowers the steps you need to take to add an item in point of sale, those common items you continuously add. And I'll also make it unlimited stock, because it will never run out. The last thing I need to do is just put the time in here. So it's going to be for 1 hour, and maybe I do want to add an icon for it here in the point of sale. So let's see if I can find so I'll say 1 hour, open, it applies that time, and I'm going to add that offer. Okay, now I'm going to go back to the dashboard and I'm going to add a user. So I'm going to click the add user button, and I'm going to call this IG user. So all I have to do to create a new user is enter a username. That's it. You're welcome to add in whatever you want, but the user will do the rest of that stuff through the registration form on the client the first time they log in. So I'm going to say save and shop because I want to add an offer to that account. So I click save and shop. It goes into the user's account. You can see my offer that I just created is here. I can click on that. I can double click on that. I can go onto the left side of the shopping cart. I could lessen it if I want to. And then I can go to checkout, and whether it's cash or card, I can make that decision. If the person gives me, let's say, $15 in cash, and I want to add the overage of the money onto the account, I can say add the change to the user's account. But for right now, I'm just going to make it simple. I'm going to add $5 and say pay. You can see the payment was successful. Here's the receipt, and now that user, if I go back into the search and I say IG user, you can see that there is an offer there of 60 minutes onto that account. So really simple. What I did there was I created a 1 hour offer, I created a user, and I added that 1 hour offer to the user's account. Our next step is to download the client. So to do that, you go to Settings in your Web Administrator, Center Config, Client Config, Download Installer. So what I've done here is I've created a virtual machine to show you how to get your games set up. And these are separated by purpose. So I've got 5 games here on the desktop. These 4 are executable games, and Counter-Strike is an actual Steam game that we will use to show an example of license management. So for these executable games, all you have to do is right click, go to Properties, and copy in the target path. So if I pull up Notepad and I put in my details here, the only thing that you're going to need to keep in mind is that ggLeap does not like these double quotes. So make sure in your paths you delete those. These are all the different paths for the games that I have set up on my virtual machine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Settings, Games, and I'm going to enable those games for the ggLeap client. So these are the paths for those executable games on my virtual machine. So what I'm going to do now is enable those within the ggLeap Web Administrator. So I'm going to find League of Legends, I'm going to look at my path, I'm going to copy that path, paste that path in, make sure it's your path and that same path is on all PCs. Going to check that it's enabled, then click Save. If I click Enabled Games now, you can see League of Legends is enabled. So Steam is a disabled game, so I'm going to click that. I'm going to go to my path, I'm going to find my Steam path, paste it in, click Enabled, and click Saved. So basically rinse and repeat for all 5 of those games, or whichever executable games that you have. All launcher items like Epic, Origin, Steam should be an executable type. All games that are within those launcher libraries should be the launcher type. Meaning for Counter-Strike, it's a Steam game, so it's going to be a Steam type. Okay, now we're going to provide you an example of utilizing license management. So I've searched for Counter-Strike. I've got an item here that's called Counter-Strike Center Account. So this would be an example if you have licenses that you want your players to be able to utilize. So as you can see, what I just mentioned, CSGO or Counter-Strike is a Steam type. So we have all of these different types that you can utilize for license management. Uplay, Battle.net, Minecraft, the Java edition, Epic, Origin, and Steam. So I'm going to choose Steam type. I don't have to do anything else in the game details. All I have to do is check Enabled and check Requires Key. Now, Requires Key means that ggLeap is going to look for a license pool. To set that up, you go into Licenses. So for a moment here, I'm going to go to Enabled Games, and I'm going to see Counter-Strike Center Account is the name of this game. I'm going to go to Licenses. I'm going to create a new pool. I'm going to call it CSGO Licenses. And I'm going to apply the Counter-Strike Center Account item right here to this license pool. Now let's say you have 5 licenses for CSGO. All you have to do, click on that license pool, click Add a License, choose Steam type, and enter the username and password. And those will show up as you go. So there's a lot of questions sometimes, especially with new customers, on how they should set up their game licenses for Steam or Battle.net or Origin or whatever. I'm going to add in a link below here for you to navigate to. That is an article in our knowledge base about how we feel like you should set up your game licenses. Should clear up a lot of confusion about whether or not Battle.net or Steam provides a commercial license and what that means and how we go about business setting up our game licenses in our own stores. So what we're going to do now is we're going to install ggLeap on the actual virtual machine, verify that all the games that we have enabled are showing up, and go from there. You just double click the installer and go through the process. Once it's ready, it'll ask you for your employee login, and this is the same as your second login for the web administrator. Set a PC name and click Save. Then it will reboot, and on reboot it will show ggLeap on startup. So one item really quick, now that we restarted that virtual machine, you can see now that that PC pops up in the dashboard list. It's also available in the graphical view. So if I pop back over to the virtual machine, if you remember that user we created early in the video, IG user, this is a new user just sitting down for the first time. He click log in and he gets a registration window. So call an IG user, enter in the other details. Okay, so just doing a brief overview here, we see 3 of our games have shown up, so that's applicable that their paths are correct, or that obviously in the Counter-Strike example it's a Steam type, so it pops up. Apps is showing both Chrome and Steam, and that is basically because apps is their genre. If you wanted to change it back so that everything is in games, we can do that, but just to show you a quick example of that, you can see that the genre is an application. That's why it shows up in apps. If I change that back to a different game type and then saved it, on restart of the PC it would show up then in the games menu. So that's just something to keep in mind, is that any change in any game is going to require a restart of your PCs. So that's why I usually recommend to try to set up as many as you can and then troubleshoot any that aren't showing up properly. So back here in the ggLeap client, I can click on Chrome, I can click launch, that out, I close Chrome, I choose Steam, I click launch, and that's going to provide me the Steam login to be able to log into my own Steam account. And so just to show the auto login process of Counter-Strike, my virtual machine isn't powerful enough to actually play Counter-Strike, but I can at least launch it and show you the auto login. So you can see the Play Center account, which I can launch, and that'll pop up a login. Let me pause it. That has the login information automatically entered, and then it'll launch CSGO. So in this short video, again, just doing the bare minimum in ggLeap for you to accept customers. Creating users, creating offers, applying offers to those users so that they can log in, setting up games, setting up license management, installing the ggLeap client, and going to town. So the only thing that would be extra that you need to do is just rinse and repeat the ggLeap client onto the rest of your customer PCs. If all of the images on your PCs are the same, so all you'd have to do is take those 5 minutes to install the ggLeap client, and before you know it, you'd be open for business. In the subsequent videos, we're going to talk a lot about ggCircuit, as well as some of the finer points of ggLeap and more in depth about what all it can do.